McLaren slammed by 2023 regulations. The Woking-based team had a rough start to the season in Bahrain, where the first race was held. Both cars had trouble staying on the track. McLaren's technical director, James Key, says that the 2023 changes to Formula One rules caused the Woking team's current problems. This is not good news for the McLaren fans that were desperate to see their team perform better this season than the last one. With two talented young drivers, can McLaren afford to underperform again? Let's get on with the video. Both of McLaren's cars had problems at the Bahrain Grand Prix, which was the first race of the 2023 F1 season. Fans of the team are now talking about the race on Twitter, calling it embarrassing and making fun of the fact that Daniel Ricciardo was paid $18 million to leave the team. Oscar Piastri's car had what was thought to be a hydraulic problem right away, but it turned out to be a problem with the wiring harness under the steering wheel. He didn't finish the race, becoming the first rookie driver to quit their first race. By staying out on his starting soft tyres longer than his competitors, the Australian had moved up to 12th place by the end of lap 12. But because the reset didn't work, he had to hit the showers early. This was quickly followed by Lando Norris having problems with his tyres, which made him have to pit more than once during the race. Norris thought he was in trouble as soon as turn 1 because his car's engine pneumatics had a pressure leak, but this had more of an effect on the gearbox than on the power. So he had to stop every 10 laps so mechanics could connect a tube to the left side pod and fill the system. Since there wasn't much time for testing before the season, it was decided that Norris should stick with the fault to get more data. Stella said that trying to reset the car by replacing the steering wheel didn't work because the problem was further down the steering column. What happened though? What was the main problem McLaren faced in the first race? For the 2022 season, all 10 car builders and the FIA agreed to raise the edge of the floor by 15mm to stop the cars from porpoising. Porpoising was a big problem all season long in 2022. The problems hurt the drivers and limited the car's potential because teams had to raise the car's ride height to stop the constant bouncing. The MCL 60 was put through its paces in the wind tunnel. After testing the car, the Woking team realized that the changes to the floor regulations would make it hard to make up for the lost performance. So the team decided to change how the car was made, which gave them more room to work with. But the team's call to change the way they did things came too late for the first race of the season in Bahrain. Lando Norris said before that the team was making a lot of progress on the upgrades, which were supposed to be ready in Baku. James Key, the technical director of McLaren, said that the company's problems began when they took the 15mm floor step. After the big problems with porpoising last year, Key made it clear that he agreed with the decision to raise the floor edge by 15mm. He said it was very smart to do so. The Briton said that the floors are huge and very sensitive. This made teams lose the downforce that the bottom of the car gave them. As there are no longer barge boards on the side pods of these new ground effect cars, most of the downforce comes from the floor. He revealed that the 15mm floor change hurt McLaren the most. This was due to the aerodynamic route the team had taken with last year's MCL 36. Where this happened actually is when we took the 15mm floor step, said Key. So we all agreed that as porpoising protection, which was very sensible given at the time last year that was still quite a major issue. It began to improve for everyone as things improved during the year. That sounds very small, but these floors are huge and incredibly sensitive. Look at how much downforce it generates. Massive. So when we did it on our car, it actually gave us a much bigger loss than anticipated. It seems to have affected different teams in different ways, and to a certain extent, it seems to be related to the floor edge geometry that you're running at the time. But Norris tried to look on the bright side. He said that he would have gotten points if he didn't have problems. He was in 11th place at the start of the race, but Valtteri Bottas moved up from 12th to 8th place, and Pierre Gasly came from 20th and last place to get 9th. When asked about his role in keeping spirits in the camp-up, he said, "It's very important. It's part of my job, really. I guess more so now than ever. But there's no reason why they should be downbeat. The main thing is we should have scored points. That was our objective today, with a car we know is not that competitive. The team knows that, and if we fix the issue, we should be fine." Norris says that the potential to score points should give the team some hope ahead of the next race in Saudi Arabia, while it waits for a major upgrade that is due for the 4th race of the season in Azerbaijan. "Today we could have boxed already after we had the first problem," he said. After they knew I was going to have to box every 10 laps, we knew we were going to be out the race very quickly. He added that they tried to stay in the race for as long as possible, and that's why he only retired with 2 laps to go. They are optimistic they can score points in Jeddah, and that they have done so previously. For races in Saudi Arabia and Australia, the Woking team will have to do their best. Up until the 4th race in Azerbaijan, the team will use the same car. Lando Norris qualified 11th for the first race of the season because he thought he would be out in Q1. At the end of the race, when he was being passed by faster cars, the Briton also kept up with them. But Norris hasn't tried to hide the fact that he wants to be in a car that wins races soon. The Briton has talked about how his friends George Russell and Alex Albon have chances to drive cars that win races. Many people have asked why Norris signed a long-term deal with the Woking team. Even more so because Christian Horner, the boss of Red Bull, didn't try to hide the fact that he wanted to sign the 23-year-old driver. McLaren is a team that is at the back of the pack. On the other hand, Aston Martin went from being last in 2022 to possibly being first in 2023. McLaren fans might get some good news in the near future though. As the team said during pre-season, it gave up on the current MCL60 design a few months ago in favour of a different direction. The broken machine that embarrassed Woking is more of a rough draft that was given up on a long time ago. For the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in April, the team plans to make a big change to the car to make it fit with what they now know. It's been said that it will look different and give it more ways to grow, which will get it back on track to move up the order under the current rules. It would be a stretch to think that it would suddenly put McLaren in the mix for the top half of the midfield, but Aston Martin has changed the game in terms of how much improvement is possible from year to year. A return to stable, consistent results would be enough to make the team forget about its terrible first weekend. There are also reasons to think that Saudi Arabia and Australia, the next 2 races before Baku, should be better. Norris said after the Bahrain Grand Prix that his speed during his short 10-lap stints between pit stops seemed fine, and his lap chart shows that the MCL60 has about midfield potential, though it's hard to make direct comparisons because he made so many pit stops. Also, after a terrible first round, McLaren was able to get its act together and do pretty well in the next 2 rounds last year. If Ricciardo's car hadn't broken down, both drivers would have scored in Jeddah. In Melbourne, they came in 5th and 6th. Norris even got a lucky podium finish in Imola. Even so, given how much its competitors have improved this year, it's hard to see McLaren being more than the 5th best car at most. This doesn't say anything about the team's ultimate potential. The kind of stagnation that has been going on for the last few years won't be broken by new infrastructure. Woking will have to do a lot of deep thinking to figure out if it's in the best shape to use the tools that are coming to it later this year. Piastri will have to hold on tight and enjoy the ride. Do you expect McLaren to improve in the next races? Or will this be a season to forget for them? Let us know in the comments below, and see you next time.